Thank you very much for staying with us. Of course, you can do well by following us across our social platforms. And you can also watch us live on YouTube. Another second part of the conversations, we'll be engaging with Wilson Inalegwu, who happens to be, a retired assistant Inspector General of Police. Together, we'll be looking at the collapse of local governments and how that, or the local government system, and how that affects, insecurity, especially in frontline states where we're currently battling with insurgency, banditry, kidnappings, and so on. Thank you once again for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes. There has been conversations around the need to rejig the local government system. Even the federal government has taken the states, to court. I think there was a verdict by the Supreme Court which was in favor of the federal government. And the whole thing was to free local governments from the grips of state governors who are sent to have muzzled them and all of that. There's also a historical connection, between local government system, effective local government system, and tackling poverty, insecurity, and so on. From your assessment at the security aspect, how do you think this collapse of local government administrations in Nigeria affected insecurity?
Thank you very much. I think the idea of government and democracy, the government of the people, for the people, and by the people.
Yeah, and that's a concept, right?
And that is a concept. And this does not restrict governance or government to the elites alone. And the idea of taking government closer to the people is realizable through effective local governance. But I think that has taken a hit for a long time, starting from elections into the local government system, and in terms of funding, and the local governments virtually collapsed. And I think you only had local governments perhaps operating only in the FCT, where
the area councils.
The area councils, the chairman can be described as chairman. But when you go to the states, you had the issue of funding. And that's a critical tier of government. The federal, the state, and the local government. And now, how do you get government closer to the people? Where is the government that the people see? Where is the government that people can relate with? And so you find a situation where if the councillors are appointed, the chairmen are appointed, and when they have election by the state electoral commissions, it's always a sham.
So we call it selection anyway.
Selection. And people are made to take oath in some cases, and they organize election, and the party in government in that state, everybody wins. All the candidates win. And so it made a caricature of the local government system. But I think when you talk of security, because security is about the people. In fact, governance is about the people. When you have government not having that touch,
impact,
that impact, that dividend, and if it is only felt with the elites who can afford to fly from one place to another, who may not even need the bridges in those little streams in the villages, it becomes a huge problem. And so you begin to have a rise in crime, because the little jobs that the local government system need to provide, not just the local government staff, we are even talking of
some of the projects like
culverts,
building culverts,
cleaning up. So those things no longer exist, because if the chairman can only pay salary and have little interest, it becomes a challenge. I recall when I was a young officer as an ASP sometime on the plateau, we used to attend local government security committee, and then decisions are made. The local government security sector chiefs are present and they deliberate. But the situation that we have, we don't have any local government. And so what do we have?
How does that perhaps, affect? For instance, one of the issues you are raising now, very critical, the need for, that security, if you like, management at the local level.
That's true.
And beyond just being there, it also serves as a communication link, in terms of intelligence sharing, for instance. And today, we're beginning to see these crimes, are largely local. They happen at the local, communities, in the local communities, what they call ungoverned spaces, because there is absence of governance and so on. Now, how does this affect, how does this undermine the current effort? Because a lot of money is being expended on fighting insecurity, from buying the hardwares, the softwares, vehicles and so on and so forth. But yet the situation remains. How does it affect the synergy that is needed there?
It does affect negatively, right, if the local government system is not effective. And why do I say that? Security is about proactivity. And how do you get proactive when you don't have that local intelligence? And that local intelligence sometimes needs to be structured. Because let me tell you for free, that if you go to the local government system, you don't find the only thing you find are sometimes local hunters. And these hunters are not under any proper supervision. And because they are not, because the police practice is, if you have vigilante, for example, you have 10, you have 2 officers operating with them so that they can provide guidance, so that situations do not escalate. And that happens because of that absence of governance. Now, if you talk of the ward level, if you talk of the district level, you've got to build security from there. Buying APCs never help in managing crime. Buying AK never help in managing crime. Because
or fighter jets.
All those, because the situation, it is when it escalates that you begin to use that. But we are saying you've got to be proactive. You've got to deal with it from the roots.
Nip it from the bud.
And when you don't nip it from the bud, what happens? When people come into your environment and settle down, for example, and you don't even know whom to talk to. But if you have a local government system in place that recognizes that we need to have a system. Let me give you an example. What has driven most of the insecurity in the north, particularly in the northwest, where you have banditry, where you have kidnapping, where you have rustling? What drives it? If you examine critically, it is the mismanagement of security, where you have vigilante operating, not being regulated, and coming in confrontation. And so what do you see? You see that these vigilantes are set up. They prevent us from coming to the market. If they see us, they say we are profiled as criminals. And then they go back into the bush, arm themselves, and then come to the market and attack. And so
in other words, you're also, giving credence, if you like, or adding your voice to what the president said, at the inaugural, the Katsina summit that just ended. That there is need to address the traditional, if you like, or cultural injustices, that there has been a disconnect right from the onset. Communities, or tribes are meant to confront each other without,
you see, when you have an effective local government security committee, which I would like to describe as LOGSEC, Local Government Security Committee. I just want to call it LOGSEC. Now, when you have an effective LOGSEC that operates in the local government area, you see, if people have avenue for ventilating their frustrations. Because what happens, if you look at it critically, there are issues that can be resolved. As a former commissioner of police, I was privileged to serve in 3 states, and I was privileged to serve also as DPO. And when these things occur, you see, there are situations that can be dealt with, but they are never dealt with, and so they are allowed to escalate. I give you an example. In one of the states, we decided to have a committee led by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, having membership of headers and crop farmers and security agencies. I would say now, when we have a situation of damage to crops, this committee will move in and invite the parties. So when you go to those committees, you are not just looking at the crop farmers representative, you are not just looking at the headers representative, you're not just like at the security people.
You're serving as a neutral person.
But you are
collective,
a collective. And so if you have an effective local government security system, when situations like this happen, especially if it is within the local government, this committee can move their sitting to such
community areas
and then invite the people and say, look, we learned there was a massive damage to crop in this area, and then we invite those, and it does
parties
happen.
And resolve it.
And it does happen. And I give you an example. I was a commissioner of police in one of the states, and the headers came and laid a complaint that, look, this happened to the animals and all that. And I told them they came on a Thursday or Friday. I say, on a Tuesday I was coming there. And before I got to that area, I had a huge number of them, and they were almost carrying me on my feet. That I said I was coming, and I came. And so what I'm trying to say is that an effective local government security system, having a LOCSEC or local government security, right? In fact, let me say from the Ward Security Committee, where they are not able to deal with it, this should be problem-solving committees. The name is Local Government Security Committee, but you could call them problem-solving.
Yes. Okay. Now, looking at what you are saying, the disconnect, and of course, perhaps solving this problem, from what you are saying, is not far-fetched. We need to understand that there must be a presence of governance at the grassroots.
At the grassroots.
Yeah, security-wise and, of course, development-wise. But here we are with governors of the Northwest coming together to find solution to some of these problems. On the other hand, the same governors are also fighting against, if you like, wanting to continue to strangle the local government system, not to make it functional. Do you think that there is a corresponding will on the part of the governors to tackle this problem head-on, looking at some of this resistance?
There should be sincerity of purpose. There should be a clear understanding. Why did I get into government? Did I get into government to serve? Did I get into government to acquire wealth and all that? You see, there are various ways. There are business people who are not in government, and they are very rich people. And I don't want to think that the governors are thinking like that. Perhaps they think the chairmen are not mature enough to handle their finances. But there are some chairmen who have become governors. I'm told that the governor of Plateau was a local government chairman.
At some point.
Therefore, there is a need to free the local government system. And I think what the situation that happens is this: the anti-corruption structures on ground, I think, is what is leading to all of this. Because if you know that you mismanage, you'll be afraid
to be invited or to
get involved. Because everything we see, they are all written down. And so I don't think it should be rocket science. The president does not even need to go to the Supreme Court. The laws are very clear. People just have to do their work, because you cannot do it all. Otherwise, the president could have said, look, I will take all the allocation. I am in a position to develop the whole country. But I think,
even though there are also concerns around the laws you're talking about, there are some loopholes that are being taken advantage of. For instance, in the Constitution, the responsibility of setting up, if you like, the local government administrators, or rather, conducting the election and all of that, is left in the hands of the governors and so on. Mm-hmm. Now the battle is, okay, let's centralize it. Let's make it a role of the INEC, for instance, to conduct that. But neither here nor there, some would say. Yes.
We're not just serious. We know what to do.
Right.
There is a state joint account, local government joint account.
Even though unconstitutional.
Oh yeah, it all happens. The governors cannot hold, the president cannot hold the country to ransom, because the president reports to the people, the Nigerian people. The Nigerian people are the Nigerian person is the government. Therefore, the president is responsible to the Nigerian citizen. The governors cannot be otherwise. The local government chairman cannot be otherwise. But there is a lot of wisdom in allowing local government control their fund, and then they are checked. The ICPC, I know, has drilled a lot of local government chairmen.
Yeah.
But when it comes to governors, there's a lot of adjournments. There's a lot of dilly-dallying. And I think we've got to help ourselves. We cannot have, you see, the local government is that third tier of government is the most effective, is the closest to the people, is the one that people can see, is the one that can see cattle crossing, especially the local governments at the borders. So those are the ones that will say that, look, we are having cattle coming from other countries, introducing diseases to our country. They are the ones that will report. So if you don't have effective local government system, you cannot work. Have you ever seen a plant that grows from top? It has to grow. And those ones, they are not real plants.
Right.
They're those parasitic plants.
Okay, well, we're beginning to see a legal effort now, to free the local government and allow them work so that we can have to address this poverty and insecurity. But beyond the legal effort, what do you think the National Assembly can do? What role do you think they can play in terms of bringing this, together? Because beyond us, no one would want to go allow this to happen just like that, like the governors. They will always fight back. How do we have a collective resolve, a consensus that everyone will have to get involved for the local governments to function effectively?
The Nigerian public must get involved. Yes, the president has gone to court. It's not enough. The Nigerian people must give support to that effort, because some of the members of the National Assembly, some of them, their hands are tied because they watch the body language
of the governors.
Yeah, because otherwise they don't come back. Otherwise, it's not everybody that is prepared to sacrifice. But I think when you have a good cause, did it take so long to amend the National Anthem Law Act? It didn't take that long. But people must understand, and I think the National Orientation Agency has a lot of responsibility in this regard, that we've got to make our local government work. We've got to, that market woman, that little stream, she crosses that has no bridge, that the local government can put a wooden bridge there. She doesn't have to take her wrapper
a number of lives have been lost
a number of lives through drowning.
Right.
So, and that the governor will do what they can do. Governor is not only for the elites, because it is important. It is nice. Right. You build airports, you build trunk drains, but what is important is that the people, those in the grassroots, those who are really the typical Nigerian.
Right, thank you very much. The drive, the process, or rather the movement, has to be people-centric. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, retired AIG Wilson Inalegwu, for your informed perspectives. We hope to have you some other time.
The pleasure is mine.
I'm yours. That's a wrap on today's edition of Daily Politics. You can join us tomorrow. We will be back, God's willing, with another interesting personalities and topic. Until then, And on behalf of the technical crew, I am Shafiu Suleiman.